if I like didn't do my chores or like stuff, I wouldn't be allowed to watch like Raw or Nitro.
Oh.
And I don't know why I remember this. And it's really, I don't know why this bothered me so much. But I had like those old WCW action figures that were just like big and they didn't move and their arms were like up in the air all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had a bunch of ones like, I had Vader and like Hogan. And I had the Nasty Boys. I don't know why. I don't know where I even got these from. But I had never seen the Nasty Boys wrestle. And they were wrestling on Nitro one night. And I didn't finish my chores and I wasn't allowed to watch Nitro. And I remember crying because I wasn't going to get to see the Nasty Boys. Little did I know how little I was missing at the time.
I don't think anyone will ever utter those words again.
No, they've never been uttered before.
I cried because I couldn't see the Nasty Boys.
Yep, that's a true story. That's gonna be the lead-in for this episode. I know it already.
So
Oh my damage! Put that in the fucking title. Rad Hazard.
yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Global Backyard Wrestling Nation Podcast, Episode 7. I am Rad Hazard here with the #1 backyard wrestling podcast in the world. Because seriously, if there was any other one, we would definitely be the #2 backyard wrestling podcast in the world. But nonetheless, I had a fantastic 2 weeks of backyard wrestling. First of all, let me start off by saying, if you haven't noticed, I have a new gimmick. I am the grifter, Rad Hazard. Something I've been slowly building towards since last year. After losing the tag team titles, I made a series of short promos, vignettes, whatever you want to call them, about how I lost all my money and how I was kind of living out of my car now. I did kind of the homeless gimmick thing for a couple months, and now I am the grifter. I am a con man, a street-level businessman with all the connections, and I might not be the man in charge, but I'm definitely the one pulling the strings in the background. And I'm expecting to have a lot of fun with this gimmick. I'm a little weird, a little awkward, but definitely fun, and as heel as can be, really. How can you like a guy who's pretty much trying to swindle you out of every penny you own? Unfortunately, I've had 3 matches as the grifter already, with the altered gear, the shredded blazer, shredded shirt. I'm even wearing shirts on my jeans now. 3 matches I've had so far. None of them are up yet. And I think I've even done a promo since then as well. So hopefully some of that stuff will be popping up soon, and you can give me some feedback if you like the gimmick or not. Personally, I'm just having a blast doing it. And I wanted to debut it at a very special show. Luckily, I was able to do that with Paul Kunk Memorial 5, which happened 2 weekends ago, as of this airing. And on day 1, I took on none other than Better Than All Joe Hall, who is a tag team partner of mine in EWA, in the Killing with Kindness movement. And I like to think that we had a very, very fun and entertaining match. More so a story than anything else. And you know me, I love telling stories. That's what wrestling is to me. It's a story. And we got to tell a very unique story. Everyone's seen tag team partner versus tag team partner before. They've seen the swerve of the finger poke of doom. They've seen the swerve of a breakup. I wanted to do something a little more, honestly, I would say realistic. 2 men who had animosity. Joe Hall and I were not friends walking in, but we were partners walking in, and we literally beat the hell out of each other, hitting our finishers multiple times on each other, not even trying to go for the pin after a certain point, because it wasn't about winning the match, it was about winning and earning each other's respect, and at the end of the match we were able to accomplish that, and I'm very proud of that match. I think it was some of the best storytelling I've done all year, and when you see that in the clip show and when I upload the full match, I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you give me some feedback on it, because it really is one of my favorites this year, and I thank Joe Hall for that, and I know we'll be working together a lot more in EWA, and who knows, maybe elsewhere. Day 2 was interesting, though. Originally, I was actually going to main event Day 2, but I had to work Sunday night, so just in case, put us in the semi-main. I'm very glad for that, because BRB versus the Chad was the main event of PKM 5, and I can't tell you how happy I am that BRB got that big moment at PKM like that. I love Ben, and he's just, he underrates himself, to be honest. Ben, if you're listening, you are underrated in your own mind, buddy, and you deserve more from yourself. So yeah, the Chad and BRB in the main, but in the semi, it was myself and Chris Urban against none other than the Flamboys, Adam Bolt Burnett, and Andrew Sellers for the United States Tag Team titles, showing that animosity that Urban and I had, a little bit of tension after Urban, spoiler alert, after Urban teamed up with Mike Damage the day before, just showing that tension between us. That was actually very reminiscent of me and Joe Hall the day before. And of course, that animosity and that confusion costing us the Tag Team Championship. Another match I'm actually very happy with. I felt my performance was really good. I took a lot of great moves, and I love tag team wrestling. If I could just do tag team matches all the time, I would never have a bad match in my mind. I would just have a great time. But nonetheless, I don't get to, so these opportunities, few and far between, but just so fun. And I'm very happy to work with the Flamboys again. And I hope to wrestle them a little more in the future. It's always a blast wrestling those guys. Tag team situation, big time match. What more could you ask for? But enough about me, enough about all that. Let's get to this week's GBYWN Event Recap. March 8th, 2014 in Pennsylvania. Hosted BXW Dalton's Toe Memorial. In the opening contest, Halo Brown successfully defended the interim GBYWN X Division Championship over Harrison Sage, Rick Johnson, and the GBYWN World Pure Champion Mike Damage. James Connolly's Fearless Open Challenge saw James Connolly defeat Tommy Coburn. Tag team competition as Nightmare Neil and Chris Moolah defeated Big Sexy Venom and Killa K. Drake Genocide successfully defended the BXW Intercity Championship over Chuck Action by way of disqualification. The Ross successfully defended the GBYWN United States Championship over Jimmy Spino and the GBYWN United States Champion Adam Burnett. One-on-one as Saint Vengeance defeated Chris Urban. And in your main event of the evening, Johnny Boy successfully defended the BXW Championship over the GBYWN United States Tag Team Champion, Andrew Sellers and Rad Hazard. The very first BXW show of the year, I cannot tell you how excited I was for this show. Setting up so many big things like Chuck Action willingly getting himself disqualified in order to keep faith with his own beliefs. Johnny Boy continuing his successful run as BXW champion, proving he is worthy of that title. And the Rust continuing to take on all comers. So much more from this. This is just the seed that has been planted into the tree that will be the 2014 year of BXW. March 9th, 2014 in Pennsylvania. Hosted BXW. No Marky, just led. In the opening contest, Daniel Devine defeated Hybrid. One-on-one as the GBYWN United States Tag Team Champion, Adam Burnett defeated Killa K. Halo Brown successfully defended the interim GBYWN X Division Championship over Chris Mula, Jimmy Spino, and the GBYWN United States Tag Team Champion, Andrew Sellers. Singles competition as Big Sexy Venom defeated Rad Hazard. A one-on-one bout saw Chris Urban defeat Bless. And in your main event of the evening, lose the match, lose your title. James Connolly defeated Patrick Wade Wilson, the BXW Intercity Champion Jake Genocide, and the GBYWN United States Champion The Russ. Since Patrick Wade Wilson was representing Mark Electric, James Connolly was crowned the new GBYWN World X Division Champion. Ladies and gentlemen, you want to talk about a launching pad? James Connolly has just launched himself into the stratosphere. A fantastic showcase for James Connolly, winning the World X Division Championship. Only bigger and better things are going to happen for James Connolly from this point on, as well as the continuation of storylines like Halo Brown's fight to get a shot at the X Division title. Big Sexy Venom coming in as a monster, destroying me, Rad Hazard. And so much more, including Chris Urban's first win of the year. Will he bounce back? We'll find out next time at BXW. March 13th, 2014 in the United Kingdom. Hosted RCWA Underground, episode 95. A three-way dance saw Apollo defeat Jim Catastrophe and Harley Davis. Tim Lee defeated Andy Andrews. And in number one contenders, Fatal 4-Way Attraction, Will Ospreay defeated Chris Taylor, Dick Manwich, and the GBYWN World Champion, Sam Jude. The 95th edition of Underground shows Will Ospreay on his way to that RCWA Championship, the most prestigious RCWA title. This is a great build-up to what will be a great match in the future with Ospreay as challenger. March 17th, 2014 in the United Kingdom. Hosted The Wrestling School, Episode 1. In the opening of the show, Mark Lloyd was awarded the school championship. In the first bout of the evening, Chad Dayfield defeated Enchilado. One-on-one, as Richard Parliament defeated Pirate Laws. And in your main event of the evening, Mark Lloyd successfully defended the school championship over Dr. Noombray. A brand new backyard wrestling promotion. If you love those from Anything Goes Wrestling, AGW in the United Kingdom, oh, you're gonna love the Wrestling School. I'm already hooked after one episode. This is awesome. Great concept for a federation, a great concept for Backyard Wrestling, and I love it. Keep tuning in, guys. The Wrestling School is gonna teach you a thing or two. March 16th, 2014 in New Jersey, hosted UWC Dead or Alive. A number one contenders match saw War and Peace defeat Joshua Wesker and Herman Cox. One-on-one as G Fatal defeated Jimmy Spino. And in your main event of the evening, Killa K won a ladder match over Saint Vengeance to remain the UWC champion. UWC continuing to run full throttle with the rematch of their big showcase between Killa K and Saint Vengeance. Now that Killa K has successfully defeated Vengeance twice, who will be his next opponent for that prestigious UWC championship? We'll find out in the future. Only new beginnings from here on out for the UWC. March 22nd, 2014 in Connecticut, hosted 203 BYW, Respect the Bass. In the opening contest, Gavin Nails defeated Doc Holliday and Macholismos, the Phoenix 666. Triple threat action as Christopher Rowe defeated Scott Hughes and Knuckles. Andrew Wright defeated PJ Matthews to become the new 203 BYW champion. One-on-one as the GBYWN World Tag Team Champion Patrick Wade Wilson defeated Primetime. Singles action as Marcus Santafonte defeated Benjamin Whiteback. And in your main event of the evening, the GBYWN United States Champion, The Ross, defeated the GBYWN World Tag Team Champion, Daniel Devine. I am so impressed by 203 BYW and what they have been able to accomplish in such a short time. Every single event from this Fed continues to be a super show all its own. Remember, this is a Fed that back in the day had the same 5, 6, 7 guys every single show. And now we're getting guys like Marcus Santafonte, Patrick Wade Wilson, we're getting The Russ, we're getting so many great names. I am so happy for 203 BYW. And now with Andrew Wright as their champion, who knows what the direction will take them. I'm loving 203 BYW. March 22nd, 2014 in Pennsylvania, hosted 3BW, Typical Violence 8. A street fight saw Matt Scars defeat RJB. Thus, RJB is banned from getting a title shot for 1 full year. The Mistress defeated Queen Joey to become the new 3BW Femme Fatale Champion. For the first time ever, Big Juicy took on the challenge and defeated Jesla. Outlaw Stars Open Challenge Submission Match saw Outlaw Stars successfully defend the United States Hardcore Championship over some guy named Dan. A Falls Count Anywhere rematch saw Todd Austin defeat CJ Riot. One-on-one as Nate Dallas defeated Aaron Rain. A Money in the Bank ladder match saw Rick Johnson capture the briefcase for the Action Pack Survivor Championship, as well as a Masked Man winning the other briefcase. They were successful over War and Peace, Nico Diamonds, Vincent Cade, and Lawrence. With Casket Jack's 3BW ownership on the line, Tim Rush defeated the representative for Jack, FX. The Flamboy successfully defended the 3BW and GBYWN United States Tag Team Championship over Sonny D, the team of Sonny Justice and Johnny D. The second Money in the Bank ladder match of the evening saw Harrison Sage capture the 3BW Championship briefcase. Ajax was also successful in capturing a briefcase over Tommy Lambeau, Frat Boy Raggles, and UWC champion Killa K. A lumberjack match saw the 3BW Survivor champion Nightmare Neil defeat the ACW champion Cameron Action to unify the titles into the action-packed Survivor Championship. Immediately after the bout, Rick Johnson cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase, defeating Nightmare Neil. Rick Johnson, your new 3BW action-packed Survivor Champion. With Craze as referee, Cody Mortem defeated California Wildfire and Troy Allen to become the new 3BW champion. But before Mortem could officially retire from 3BW, Harrison Sage cashed in his Money in the Bank contract, defeating Cody Mortem in what would be his true final match. Your winner and the new 3BW champion, Harrison Sage. 3BW Typical Violence 8 hosted what was advertised as the final match of Cody Mortem, and what a match it was. Anybody who might be skeptical about 3BW, please check out this Fatal 4-Way Originals match that every single member of that match was proud of. I'm proud of them for going that far and doing that much in a fantastic main event. Cody Mortem going out in style and still handing over the belt to Harrison Sage, the Exiled Reformed, and what a great finish to a great show. So much story and so much to build off of. This was truly a launching pad for everyone in 3BW and for the rest of the year. Keep tuned in to 3BW.
I got the biggest boner for science.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was a lot of recapping there. Usually I only do 5 events. Today I felt I might as well do 7 since we didn't recap a couple of shows ago. And whew, my voice is going out. So while I recover, please listen to this fantastic interview. And I mean fantastic. Usually my interviews go about 3 episodes each so far. We usually make it a trilogy. I'm telling you, with this interview I had, it went so long and it was so detailed, so good, that it might go a 4th part. It might go a 5th part. I'm not kidding you. This was a really detailed, really nice interview. Not just about the man who I did interview, but with those in the room as well. The history of EWA and a history of a lot of the events that he went to during his career, which is still ongoing. And I know I'm keeping it real shady. I'm keeping the veil on, but now I'm taking the veil off. I'm opening the curtain. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy part 1 of this interview with none other than Patrick Wade Wilson.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the GBYWN podcast. Rad Hazard here, along with the Russ. Say hi, Russ.
Hello.
And Daniel Devine.
Hey.
And we are here today with the...
non-facial hair.
There you go.
Don't make fun of my non-facial hair. It's growing.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys, shut up. You guys are getting your own interviews eventually.
That's true, sorry.
Sad.
Speaking of which, let's announce the guy who's actually getting the interview.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Member of the Stepdads, and the current reigning and defending GBYWN World Tag Team Champion.
You know, I actually haven't defended it once yet.
You defended the last reign.
That's a good point. Good
Yeah, there you go. I win. This is Patrick Wade Wilson. Say hi.
Hi.
Good job.
Thank you.
Today, first of all, how are you feeling? We just got back from EWA show.
I feel like I just came back from an EWA show.
I guess that says it all, doesn't it?
That's haired up and tired.
I mean,
I mean, that's old school EWA, never mind.
I had about as much fun as I could at a place that Tech and Sean Dubes were at, so, you know, there's that.
No.
The truth.
I still don't
Controversy
care.
already.
Who? Sean who?
There you go. Oh, is he joining the Backyard Battalion?
I don't know. That's a thing still?
I don't know. Sean who?
He's their manager.
Battalion.
Sean who?
God.
Charlie.
Who?
I don't know. I'm lost.
Good job.
Where's the bathroom?
It's right out through the door.
You can't miss it, Russ.
You just farted. It was not silent.
Perfect for the podcast.
Yeah, they'll be able to hear that fart. Hope you can smell it at home.
So let's get started now that we're all warmed up.
Goddamn.
Yeah, time to get started.
Let's-
Ask me a goddamn question, Rad Hazard.
God damn it, I will. Let's start with your early years. When were you born? Where were you born at?
I was born in New Jersey, in Red Bank, New Jersey, home of the Secret Stash from Jay and Silent Bob.
Love it.
That's really it. I still live here. I mean, I live only a half hour from Red Bank, but I mean, I never lived there. That's just the hospital I was born in. So, my whole life I lived in Keyport. I moved one town over to Mattawan. So that's really all there is to it.
Is there a reason why you were born an hour away?
Not only a half hour away.
Oh, okay.
Because the other closer hospital had a really bad reputation.
Mm.
And then I worked there, so you know there's that. But it had a better reputation. The hospitals around here keep switching reputations of being good and bad. So when I went there, that was a good one, and when I worked the other one, that was a good one. So there's that.
Is there any reason why?
That's just I don't know. It's just always been a thing. I always thought that was a thing everywhere, but I know it's not.
No. No, it's not.
It's just I don't know. It's Jersey. That's all I can say to explain it.
Alright, fair enough. So you've only moved once, pretty
Once,
much,
yes.
yeah?
My dad is currently yelling at Russ outside the room, but yelling to say hello. My dad doesn't have a quiet switch. He will probably be in this interview at some point. I'm gonna take a good stab at that.
Might as well. Your dad's awesome.
Yeah, he tries. He makes fun of Danny though.
Who does it?
He told Danny one time, you're allowed to stay one night, but if you stay more than one night, you gotta start paying rent.
I owe him so much money.
Danny owes my dad so much money for rent.
Well, let's talk about your father a little bit.
Sure.
Was he into wrestling?
He was. My dad used to live in New York, and he used to love going to Madison Square Garden shows.
Ah.
Actually, I believe he actually worked, like, in a small role for, like, the WWF for a while, but, like, delivering, like, flyers and magazines and stuff like that. Like, little things. But he used to do that as part of his job, so he enjoyed going to shows. He loved watching, like, all the culture clash almost of it, because every character almost represented a part of a group in the city. So he always enjoyed, like, you had the Italian wrestlers and the Spanish wrestlers and the Polish wrestlers and the Russian wrestlers, stuff like that.
Right. Bruno Sammartino
Yes.
in the lead, yeah.
Yeah.
Lead role.
My dad always jokes, like, whenever we're at a show and they're like, oh, the guy just got here on a flight and he's coming out now and he's ready to go, he's always like, oh yeah, here comes Bruno with the fucking suitcase, because that used to always be like Bruno Sammartino used to come out with the suitcase, like he just got there. So my dad always references that kind of stuff. Although he's not that old, my dad's only like 60, but he remembers seeing that stuff and going to those shows.
Okay. But does he watch the current product at
He
all?
does, more than I do.
Oh, okay.
My dad watches Raw, like, every Monday, He watches TNA every Thursday, and he watches SmackDown every Friday.
That's commitment right
Yeah,
there.
I don't know why he does it, but he does. I always joke that he's single-handedly keeping TNA alive.
At this point, he kind of is.
Yeah, he really is. It's the only reason I know when terrible stuff goes on, because I can't watch it myself. But when Jeff Hardy's hitting a dude in the balls with an umbrella on the Trio Woe, my dad's like, you gotta put this shit on, it's terrible.
Oh, man.
So my dad, like, I mean, he's, I wouldn't say he's like a smart mark, but I wouldn't say he's a mark either. But he does know what he likes and what he doesn't like, and he has his stuff that he enjoys and doesn't enjoy.
Hey, that's fine, too.
Yeah.
It's very okay. Now, did your father get you into wrestling as a kid?
Kind of. I mean, I don't know how I really even got into wrestling. I just remember watching it when I was younger. My dad brought me to a few shows, like 96. We went to a house show. I went to SummerSlam 97 and saw Bret Hart beat The Undertaker, and that was awesome. That's probably the moment that, like, cemented me as a fan, because it was just awesome. I went to a few other, like, I think I went to an MSG house show or two. I didn't go often, but I went a few times, and we used to watch it. The fun part about it is, if I, like, didn't do my chores or, like, stuff, I wouldn't be allowed to watch, like, Raw or Nitro.
Oh.
And I don't know why I remember this, and it's really, I don't know why this bothered me so much, but I had, like, those old WCW action figures that were just, like, big and they didn't move and their arms were, like, up in the air all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
And I had a bunch of ones, like, I had Vader and, like, Hogan, and I had the Nasty Boys. I don't know why. I don't know where I even got these from. But I had never seen the Nasty Boys wrestle, and they were wrestling on Nitro one night, and I didn't finish my chores, and I wasn't allowed to watch Nitro, and I remember crying because I wasn't going to get to see the Nasty Boys. Little did I know how little I was missing at the time.
I don't think anyone will ever utter those words again.
No, they've never been uttered before.
I cried because I couldn't see the Nasty Boys.
Yep, that's a true story. That's gonna be the lead-in for this episode. I know it already.
So okay, so
Oh, hold my damage. Put that in the fucking title. Rad Hazard.
yeah. So as a kid, you actually watched both WWF and WCW?
Yeah, I loved the cruiserweights in WCW, so I would actually watch the undercard on Nitro, and then flip to WWF for, like, the main event stuff, because their main event stuff was pushing guys like The Rock and Austin and Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, and I loved all those guys. And the guy didn't care about Hogan. Those matches sucked. Even when I was 9, I knew that Piper versus Hogan was awful, and the Sting was the only saving grace, and they once the NWO started, they just buried every main eventer who wasn't, and it was just boring. I hated watching, like, Luger, and it sucked.
No, I think you put it pretty well. I mean, the main event scene in WCW was terrible.
Oh yeah,
but the undercard was great.
I was literally watching Benoit and Jericho and Mysterio and Guerrero, and then I'd flip and watch. It was absolutely the best of both worlds, because you got all the awesome guys, and ultimately they all went to one Fed.
Yeah.
And that was when I only watched. I did not watch much of WCW in, like, the Russo era.
Probably best.
I've seen it now,
Yeah,
but I
yeah.
didn't watch it at the time.
Yeah, unfortunately I did.
Yeah.
But alright, so any ECW at the time?
No, I didn't. I knew of it because I
Okay.
used to read Pro Wrestling Illustrated.
Ah.
I would get magazines from my aunt, who would buy them. She was also a big wrestling fan, and she would send them to me when she was finished, so I would get to read them all later.
That's cool.
So I got to find out a lot of guys through, like, the PWO. They used to, like, they did the 500, and they even had, like, a 100 where they would, like, they would actually, like, write up on guys. They would actually do write-ups on guys in the 500 and stuff. So I'd find out about these guys in ECW who were, like, jumping off balconies through tables and shit. It's crazy. I didn't ever get to see it, but I knew about it. I knew it was out there.
Okay. Never went to a house show though. Huh?
No, I don't know why. I mean, they were close,
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
but I never went. I was too young. I mean,
Okay.
in the late 90s, I was only 10 or 11 or 12. That really wasn't the scene for me.
Right. Now, you read PWI and all that?
A little bit. Not every issue, but
Okay.
I read it a little bit.
Were you aware of international wrestling at all?
Not really. I knew of certain big names, but they were kind of like myths and legends to me, like Dr. Death and Stan Hansen. I knew of them,
Okay.
but I had never seen them. I didn't even know what they looked like. I just knew that they were these awesome wrestlers overseas. I didn't know anything about like Kabashi and those guys.
Okay. Earlier you mentioned those action figures. Did you have anything else as a kid?
Oh, I still do. They're in my basement. I have all the old WWF action figures where you'd bend their knees and arms and they would crack and stuff. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, oh yeah.
That was even before they like made them even better, where they would like move their elbows.
Actually had articulation and everything.
I had the old school WWF ring with the red, white, and blue ropes.
Oh wow.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's my favorite ring ever. I know everybody loves the one where you could store everything inside it and it had the catapults.
That's what I had, yeah.
But I had the one before it, and it was bigger. So it was a bigger ring. It was taller, so the guys would actually hit the ropes at the right height.
Okay.
And it was just weird because the way they did the posts, they actually they had little like cutout cylinders on the edges, so it wasn't a perfect square. It had like these cutouts on the end to put the posts in. But it was an awesome ring, and you could actually make guys spring off the ropes and tie them up in the ropes because they were loose enough, but they weren't too loose.
Right.
It was awesome. I still have it. It has all like scuff marks on it from their feet. And then I had the Titantron where they would talk, and I had like the Ruthless Aggression stage where they would talk and all that stuff. But then I stopped for a long time. I got out of wrestling at like when I started a little before I started high school, like 2001, 2002. Angle was just coming into his own, and I fell out of wrestling for a while.
Is there any particular reason?
I watched Mae Young give birth to a hand, and I was like, that's enough. And it was like, that was really it for me. It really went downhill for that. After the Monday Night Wars ended, it was kind of, I liked having that option. Because if something was boring on one channel, I could flip to the other. And then the Monday Night Wars ended, and it was kind of like, I'm stuck with this crap.
And you knew they weren't trying as hard anymore.
No, they had nobody to impress anymore.
Right. Okay, so what brought you back into it then?
One of my friends in high school was big into wrestling. I was a junior, so it was 2006. I had a couple friends in my math class who were seniors. They loved wrestling. We used to talk about old wrestling shows, and they got me into TNA at the time.
Okay.
And TNA at the time was awesome.
That's not real.
2006, it was like Joe versus Daniels versus AJ. The X Division stuff.
Yes.
Unbreakable, yeah.
Yeah, the ultimate X match with Elix Skipper and Truth, and those were good, entertaining matches.
Oh yeah.
Saban was there, Spanky was there. It was fun to watch, and I got into it because of that. My friend Adam, actually, he's a crazy person. He actually used to show up to school in a Rey Mysterio mask every once in a while. And keep in mind, I went to a school with 300 people. And it weirded everybody. Like, we all knew each other, so it wasn't this big school where you could hide if you're wearing a Rey Mysterio mask. Everybody could see you.
Okay.
He was insane. He got me into ROH. He's like, you gotta go to ROH.
I'll trust the insane guy.
Yeah. He was my friend, despite the fact that he was a crazy person.
You don't have much choices, really, yeah.
He got me into ROH because he's like, oh, AJ's gonna be there, and Joe's gonna be there, and Daniels is gonna be there, so I was like, I gotta go see these guys. And I went to an ROH show in Edison. It was the 4th year anniversary show. Chris Hero and CZW crashed the show, crashed their birthday, and it started the CZW versus ROH feud, which was awesome. So I went, that was my first show. I'm in this field house. It's like a cult. Everybody knows everybody. There's all these chants. And Bryan Danielson is wrestling Jimmy Rave in a 40-minute match. And Chris Hero's coming out and singing happy birthday, fuck you to ROH. And I'm like, what the fuck am I witnessing? And the main event got me hooked. It was AJ and Matt Sydal versus Aries and Strong. And it was out of control. And from then on, I started going to every ROH Edison show. And that was my getting back into it. The next show probably hooked me forever. I went to the next show, and there was a chair riot and Homicide versus Necro Butcher, and everybody was throwing chairs in the ring. And I will never forget, my friend Adam was at the show, and he picked up some lady's chair, and she cowered.
Still in it.
No. She I don't know why she didn't understand that everybody was throwing chairs. So he picks up her chair, and she goes, ah! And he says, and I will never forget this, he goes, don't worry, lady, I'm not gonna cream you. and then throws the chair. Just a funny moment. I don't think I've ever laughed so hard. The lady was genuinely terrified. And my Filipino friend Adam was throwing a chair in the fucking ring. He was throwing every chair he could find. He probably threw half of the chairs. When they were like, everybody stop throwing chairs, it was mostly because of him.
Nice.
That same show, I held Necro Butcher's arms back while Samoa Joe kicked him in the face. So that was pretty cool. That was like, I've never been to anything like this.
I've never been in a stable before. This is awesome.
Yeah. Exactly. And then I started to get back into WWE because those friends, my friend Adam, my friend Theo, those guys used to have, my friend Theo had this huge house, and we would all go watch the pay-per-views at his house. It was me and a bunch of seniors when I was a junior. And then the next morning, we would all drive to school on Monday morning from his house.
Nice. Little carpool.
Yeah, there was like 15 of us. It was great.
Wow.
We'd play like WWE or SmackDown vs. Raw all night, and Adam would kick all our asses because he used Triple H and he used that unblockable shit that you like. He has moves that you legitimately can't block.
Yeah.
Like the running knee and shit. Terrible. He's a scumbag. Adam, if you're listening, you're a scumbag.
I'm sure he listens.
He totally
This
listens.
might be-
I bet he. I would not surprise me if he told me that he's weird like that.
Idea with no
But yeah, that's how I got back into wrestling.
Okay. So you started just watching the indie scene mostly?
Yeah, I mean TNA into the indie scene. Started going to Jersey All Pro because it was down the street from my house. That was how I actually met all the guys from EWA.
Okay, explain that.
Well, we all went to these JP shows, and there was a message board for Jersey All Pro, and we would post on it, like what we thought of the show, what we think should happen next. It was like me, Brody.
Who'd you blow?
Yeah, exactly. Me, Brody, TJ. Like, Brody's name on there was Brody, that's why I always call him Brody instead of Ryan. TJ Blade was like XXX Blade, XXX.
That's very straight edge of him.
Yes.
I like it. That or whiskey. I don't know.
Joe Hall was, I think, like Undisputed Kid or something. Because he created at the time the Undisputed Championship, so he was the Undisputed Kid. I was like, okay, whatever, Joe.
Okay.
And who else? This guy Tim posted. Tim used to be our referee in old school EWA, James Kindrell. And Tim Bombay, as he was also known. So I knew all those guys through there. Oh, and Tommy Guns.
Wow.
They all posted through there, and they started a Backyard Fed. And I didn't go at first. I watched a few shows, and I was like, I'll go hang out. These are my friends, you know? And I started going. I met Mike Dell. I didn't know Dell before.
That's unfortunate.
I like Dell. Dell's my boy.
No, I mean that you didn't know him.
Oh. I thought you were...
No, I'm just kidding. I'm going the other way with this.
I was gonna say, Russ. So I met all those...
I've never had a problem.
I met all those guys. They started doing shows. I didn't wrestle at first. I didn't wrestle for like the first year. I kind of booked for the first year. Like the Tim Bombay death angle, which is still one of the funniest things. We'll probably get into that eventually. And then,
we will.
Yeah. So I don't know if you want to just go into EWA stuff. You want to ask me another question?
No, we'll jump into it in a second. But so you knew them in real life,
I
or
knew
just through the
them-
board?
Well, we all went to the shows every month, and I started to know them through the board.
Okay.
And then we would all meet up at the shows. Once we knew each other long enough on the board, we'd see each other and be like, oh, are you this person? Are you this person? I mean, there's other people we knew too.
Are you the undisputed kid?
Yeah. The funny thing is, one of the guys that I became friends with through the board doesn't wrestle, but he actually, in my opinion, unfortunately, lives with Arkham now. But he used to go to shows and Arkham would wrestle, and now he lives with him. He's his roommate.
Wow.
Who is this?
This guy, Sean.
Oh.
He never wrestled with us or anything, but it's like I got to know so many people through this board, like that I still keep in contact with, even though it's not around anymore.
Now, when you were going to these indie shows, eventually you started getting involved with the actual companies, right?
Yeah, I got into the photography stuff. I sat in the front row and took pictures because I enjoyed doing it.
Okay, so you did that on your own independently
Yeah.
first. Okay.
I just used to take pictures because I had front row seats, and I used to think that a lot of the photographers missed the big moments that I liked to see in pictures.
Were you just a big photography buff at the time, or was
Yeah.
it? Okay.
It was just I had got a new camera. I liked it, so I started taking pictures, and eventually, I went to shows for years, and like the way Jersey All Pro ran their seats was front row seats were almost like season tickets. They were like, it was like a wait list for people to move into those seats.
Okay.
And we were on a list. So every month they'd be like, hey, do you want your seats for this month? And if you didn't want them, they'd open them up to the public. So they were always sold out in front row, which was smart. I always thought it was a smart idea. And so we became like a fraternity of all the front row people. And I had seats there, and I'd like taking pictures. I got to know the owner of the company. So he, at one point, I think a photographer didn't show up. And I was like, do you mind if I hop in there and start taking pictures at ringside? He's like, oh, no, that's fine. And I started doing pictures ever since. Did pictures at Chikara a couple times.
So what year are we talking about at this point?
Ooh, I don't know, like 09, 08, 09.
Okay.
Before I started, I don't think I've taken pictures since I started yarding. Maybe a couple times in like 2010. But Jersey All Pro's been kind of done for a while, so.
Right. Okay. Now, did you know about backyard wrestling before you jumped into the EWA?
I didn't.
Ah.
I didn't know it existed at all. Like, I knew it, I was sure people did it, but I didn't know there was this community of
Okay.
people who did it. Luckily, we had Brody, and I don't know how Brody knew Jay, B Cubed. I don't know how he knew him, but he did. And that was what got us hooked up with, like, Renegade came to EWA a few times, and yeah, I love Renegade. I love Renegade as a dude. So
As a person, he's great.
yeah.
Nope.
I never.
Shut up, Danny.
Renegade came. Eric Douglas came when he was like 16. He wrestled Brody at one of our night shows.
Wasn't he 16 for like 4 years that he was wrestling?
Yeah, pretty much. So I met Doug. I met Aaron Heights. I don't know if anybody listening knows Aaron Heights.
I know Aaron Hines.
Aaron Heights was a New York guy.
Yep.
What was he do? What was so stinky at that height?
What?
I said, what was so stinky at that height? He was Aaron Heights, so he was airing things out while he was up high.
Aaron?
Aaron.
I got you.
Aaron.
Russ, thanks. I'm so glad you're here.
You're welcome. I bet you're not.
Aaron Heights, I remember I remember B Cube just murdering him because they wrestled at EWA and B Cube
He was
debuted.
never heard from again.
I literally have not seen him since that show. All I remember is B Cube picking up Aaron Heights and Drunk Bitch Driver 2K'ing him, which was, he literally picked you up by your arms like this and lawn darted you into the ground. And it was one of the greatest things I've ever seen, and I've never seen anyone take it since as good as that. And Aaron Heights I've never seen again. He was a weird dude. Whatever happens. It doesn't really matter. But then we got to know, like, I think Drake Genocide came to one of our early shows in, like, 2010.
Yeah, I remember seeing that.
He wrestled Doug and Brody.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, like, I remember I actually went down to 2KW, which was, like...
That was the,
New York fan.
But
yeah,
that's
the
the...
New York.
That's
That's
not
New
funny.
York.
2XW.
Okay.
2XW,
Yeah.
sorry.
Right.
2XW, which was in Pennsylvania, and it was this guy Jay Beesfed.
Yeah.
They had the coolest bass I've still ever seen. It was like 4
Blocks of ice.
No, it was like 4 wooden.
Oh, you mean just cool.
It was like like 4 of these big square pieces of wood with legs,
Okay.
and then they would put gym mats on top of it and tie it down, and it was like this big plush bass, and it was like awesome looking. And I went to that, and I saw Jay wrestle at that show. I met Damien, Chris Dupree. I met Jack Ace, Scott, and all those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like my first idea. Like, what? People really do this shit. Like, they had lights, and it was at night, and people were there, and it was crazy. That was the first ever, like, outside show I went to. Then I went to
What year
wrestle
was that?
in Hatboro, PA.
No, I mean, what year was that?
2XW? I don't know.
Oh, but it was back there.
It was, yeah, it had to be 09.
Ah.
Because it was the same year as WrestleFest 9, I would say.
Yeah, 09 then.
Yeah. And then that was the first big show I ever went to where I met a whole bunch of people. I met Don at that show. I met Two Step. I met Danny.
Yeah.
EWA met Tech, which was a good thing at the time.
Wow.
As much as it probably people can't imagine that, it was a good thing at the time because he did teach us a lot early on before he became a total douche. We met Bose.
Total douche.
Complete douche.
We met Bose at that show.
There you go.
Bose wrestled a Bose versus Tech match against Steve.
One of 74,000.
It was an awesome match. That was the first time I'd ever seen him.
There's
Like,
many
there was
to
some
come.
awesome spots in that match.
Yeah.
But Bose would just tell you it's basically him versus Tech with Steve.
Including the syringe spot and everything.
I even met, like, Sick Rick and
Wait, but
Beast Snow at that.
I remember that show.
Yeah.
I even met, like, Beast Snow and Sick Rick were at
Yeah.
that show.
Mhm.
Scotty Skills was at that fucking show. That was the first time I met Martel.
That's WrestleFest 9, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
First time I met Chris
The
Urban.
trailer, or?
No, it was the one in the
Church.
Oh, right.
The PCWA church.
One of the
right?
big.
The one
We only
where they
went.
wrestled twice.
We only went for one day. I remember that was actually my inspiration to start wrestling because I saw Don wrestle and he was the first big guy I had ever seen wrestle.
The legacy of Russ versus his stepdads begins.
Yeah.
I feel like I should have a Fightful Goes West song right
It was
now.
Don and Two Step versus Kale and Jay, and the finish was awesome. They did like a double lightning spiral to Jay and Kale, and they lightning spiraled them into a Canadian destroyer. It was awesome.
Wow.
And I remember Jay and Kale teased a moonsault off the giant balcony, and I shit my pants. Almost. Legitimately. Soy Boy was there, Tony Deppen was there. I thought Tony Deppen was the scariest man. He just sat there with his arms folded, with no shirt on, just angrily observing everything, so that was pretty...
Deppen's almost always in 4 out of 10 Bret Hart mode.
That was the truest statement ever made. But that was like when EWA started to grow. Brody wrestled to that show. Del didn't. Del had a broken neck.
Already at this point?
Yeah, he had a broken neck at WrestleFest 9, that's why he didn't wrestle.
Oh, wow.
Brody wrestled Clayton. I met Kenny Storm at that show.
Kenny Storm is awesome.
He is the man. But that was a fun time.
Okay.
I mean, I skipped around a lot, but
No, that's fine. We'll go back.
It's just
So, let's get back to EWA Begins.
yeah.
You had no involvement with the beginning.
No, I helped come up with ideas for booking.
Do you remember any of those? Like, do you have any forgotten ideas or things you're proud of that you
Oh,
have?
the Tim Bombay death angle was all my idea.
Well, let's hear it.
At the end of, I want to say, it had to be 08. We had our last show of the year. It was snowing. That was the show that Jay and Aaron Heights and all them were at. And Tim Bombay had the Bombay Boys, and they were the precursor to, whatever why can't I think of the name of the stable that I hated? That Dell and
Because you hated
Joe and you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I'm
It was
trying to remember off the top of my head.
TJ, Joe.
The
something like Strike Force.
it was like Prophecy,
Oh my god, the Supremacy.
Supremacy. I was close.
They had
Supremacy.
the Supremacy. This was like the precursor.
ROH.
This was like the precursor to the Supremacy.
Okay.
It was Dell and Joe and Tim Bombay,
The
who was the manager.
Supremacy.
Yeah. So they had their thing. They had a big 6-man tag, and I came up with the idea that then whoever won got a title shot if they pinned the champ, I think, and whoever I don't remember who was the champ at the time. TJ. TJ was a face at the time. He hasn't been a face since. It's funny. Like he really hasn't been a face for a long period of time since this show. He was the champ, and they had the match, and Joe and Dell were going for pins, and Tim, who was the 6th man, it was a 6-man tag, jumps in and steals the pin. He's a manager. He never wrestled. It was his. He jumped in and stole the pin and got a title shot against TJ.
Markel
then-
spot.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
So we have the match as the main event of Chaos at the end of the year, and Tim Bombay comes out and TJ comes out and just goes full. He blamed Brody for costing him the match because Brody hit him with a chair inadvertently, and he had a promo where he like turned heel on Brody, and he came out with a chair against Tim Bombay and chair shotted him in the head 3 times. He's a manager, so the idea I had was a manager can't withstand that. That's one chair shot would take out most wrestlers, so 3 chair shots should be like brutalizing. He hits him with the 3rd chair shot. He just goes face down, never moves. I drop the camera on the ground. The whole locker room empties out to check on him, and the camera just cuts. And you find out the first episode of the next season that he died. Because he wanted to kill off the character and not be a manager anymore. So I was like, everybody's like, oh, what if we have him lose this match or he gets banished from EW? I was like, what if we just fucking kill him? He wants us to kill off the character. What if we just actually fucking kill him? I'd never seen it done before, and it actually came out way better than it had any right to.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've killed off a character of mine before.
Russell, you got an interview coming up. Say
No, let him. What?
Dude, it's just a side. It's a side note. 'Cause I will not talk about this at all. It was a terrible mask gimmick.
Good point. Is it Sunflower Guy?
No, Agent Orange.
Agent Orange.
Yes, I named it. The whole idea was I named all the moves after Orange and stuff like that because, like, I named it after, you know, a tragic chemical agent.
That's fantastic.
But I wrestled this fat piece of crap named Roman Numeral, and
What?
yes,
What a
this-
name.
Yeah, this is from WCW. So
So
are you
like it.
surprised?
That there were a lot.
They are actually cousins too, but he freaking hit me with the butt bomber, which is Grey T's move, but he did it like he was telling me to be on all fours because he was going to kick me in the gut, and he just sits on my back, and we called it the trash compactor because he just folded my spine in half, and I was in my mask gimmick. So the mask gimmick never shows up again, and we just said that he broke his spine and he's dead.
So it was an accidental killing all the characters.
Yes, but it was a tragic accident, really. I should have held a funeral.
WCW, it, for the most part, was a tragic accident.
Did you do a funeral for the manager?
Listen.
But I wanted to do a funeral promo
Oh my god, it was so good.
because I lived right next to a cemetery. I wanted to do.
I wrestled in the cemetery.
Yeah, so did I.
I lived across the street from a cemetery. I wanted to do a funeral promo and set up a bunch of chairs and have nobody show up because everybody hated the guy.
Oh wow.
And I thought it would be such a funny fucking promo, and it never happened. But then everybody had like their memory like promos, like you know how WWE would do, like say what you want about this person. Every one of them was just like fuck him, I'm glad he's dead, like. And then we had, it was amazing.
Did you have like an EWA is Bombay or something?
It's terrible.
The funniest part about it is we actually had someone report the video on YouTube.
What?
Because they thought he actually died and they didn't want video of someone dying on the internet, and this person reported us and the video got taken down for a while.
Wow.
But we had the promos with everybody hating him. Eventually, the idea was he would come back. His twin brother, Tyson Bombay, came back, but he lasted one show and then he was gone and it never really got a payoff.
Never killed that character off either?
No.
Still alive?
It turned out way better than it had any right to. And then eventually I became, I think this is when I was the GM. I was actually the on-screen GM of EWA for a little bit. Marshall Manganelli. I was this Italian, like, mob-connected GM who bought EWA.
Is there any reason behind that?
They wanted me to get involved as a GM character. They didn't have a GM, so it was basically I became it. I did a promo with Tim where he was like blaming me for a loss or something. I was driving away. I was like, "What? Another successful night in the EWA?" And I like tried to drive off, and he reaches through the car and grabs me by. He's like, "You motherfucker!" He's like grabbing me and trying to pull me, and I'm like, "Get out of here!" And I just the end of the promo was just me driving off into the night. Stuff had way better. It was way better than any right to. We had some awful people back then too. I mean, we had some.
Back then.
No, I mean.
You mean this morning?
Oh, you have no idea. Today did not have Chris Dixon. Or
Where's
Mike,
the unholy hammer?
or Mike T. or Brock the Unholy Night Hammer. That's a real person.
Think about that. Brock the unholy knight hammer.
Brock the Night Hammer would suck also. Why did
We also had Killer Croak, who came to one show. Made fun of
Frogger's enemy.
He cut a shoot promo on Brandon where he just
Spyro the Dragon.
ate a cheeseburger the whole promo.
Why is he shooting at his first show? What does he have to even shoot about?
He was retarded.
He was Brandon the Bull's mate.
He never came back because he injured himself in a backyard MMA match. Silence. That's all you need to know. But these were some of the early stuff that happened. We make fun of a lot of that stuff. Brandon's promos were amazing back then.
You want to talk about a couple of those?
Brandon's the hanging up the kick pads promo might be my favorite. When he retired because he suffered too many brain injuries and he didn't have life insurance. Not health insurance, life insurance. Russ, I see you're giving me a look.
Just in case he dies like Tim Bombay.
Do people not read the final line on these insurance plans?
So he didn't have life insurance, so he couldn't wrestle anymore. So he cut a retirement promo, which apparently is Kenny Storm's favorite thing in the whole world. Ask Kenny Storm about Brandon Bull's retirement promo. He fucking loves it.
Why?
Because it's hilarious. He's like, I'm hanging up the kick pads, and he hangs them up on a nail on the wall, and then he's like, I'm hanging up the shoes. Actually, I'm still going to wear these shoes, but I'm not going to wrestle them anymore, so I'm hanging them up. It was terrible. Some of that stuff is really funny because of how terrible it is. My other favorite idea that we ever came up with was Mike Dell, when he lost the title.
Oh, yeah.
We had the idea of, because he lost when he was the champion, he was living this extravagant lifestyle because he was getting a bonus for being the champion. He was getting a pay
Right.
He was getting a pay bonus for being the champion.
Right.
When
I
lost
heard this reference before.
Yeah, when he lost the title, he lost his pay bonus, lost his house, and started living on Joe Hall's roof.
That's awesome.
These are funny ideas. Other people in EWA at the time were like, "This shit's stupid. We shouldn't do this." I loved it. I think the funny stuff is something we should do more often. El Cracho was amazing. We had a promo where El Cracho tried to sneak back into the yard after getting deported, and he ended up landing in where the Bombay Boys were planning for a match, and they caught him and threw him back over the fence.
I love that. It's so creative.
That's the border.
Yeah, exactly. It was the yard. That was the border in our mind. This stuff was great. It was really, like, there was some really funny stuff that I wish we could go back and do again. Mike Dell living on the roof is just absolutely incredibly funny to me. He became like Vin Gerard for a while in Chikara, where he wasn't allowed in the locker room and everybody hated him.
Yeah.
It was cool. It was enjoyable.
You do?
All right.
Then I started wrestling.
Oh, yeah?
That happened not long after this.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen, part 1 of what could be many, 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 many parts with Patrick Wade Wilson. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you see how detailed these interviews will be, and will keep tuning in to find out more about the history of Patrick Wade Wilson, the EWA, and all the events that he went to during the first few years of his career. What a fun night that was. And you will get the opportunity to experience it as if you were right there with us. But as we start to wind down towards the end of the show, I want to debut a new segment. You see, I listen to a lot of podcasts during my night shifts at work, and one of my favorites is the Steve Austin Show. And if you watched the Steve Austin Show recently, or listened to it, I guess you kind of have to listen to it. If you've been listening to it lately, he's been doing this new segment called True or False, where he gives you a statement about something in wrestling, and you have to determine whether it's true or it's false. And I think it's really fun, and I thought to myself, Rad Hazard. Nah, I don't really think of myself as Rad Hazard. Well, maybe sometimes. I go, Rad, listen, we should do something like that in this podcast. So this week, this episode, we are going to do just that. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready. Put your thinking cap on for this, the debut of GBYWN True or False. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I got 5 true or false statements for you. And as we go down the line, I'll tell you whether they're true or false. I'll give you a second to think about it, of course. But try to figure out on your own. Think about the history of the GBYWN over the past many, many years. 2009 was when the Global Backyard Wrestling Nation was formed. Think back to the big highlights. And, feel free to send me some of your true and false statements for use later on the podcast in future episodes. But for now, we will have these 5. So let's get to the first one. Ladies and gentlemen, listen closely now. The statement is, the shortest GBYWN world title reign was held by none other than Joey Tornado. Now think about this very carefully. Joey Tornado, the shortest GBYWN World Championship reign in history. World Champion, Joey Tornado. True or false? True or false? Think about it. I'll give you a second. Okay, now if you said true, guess what? You got it absolutely right. You got it absolutely right. Joey Tornado is the record holder for the shortest reign in GBYWN World Championship history. He beat Joe Randa at the WrestleFest 10 prequel, lost it Immediately back to Joe Randa. Joe Randa invoking his rematch clause. Literally got out the words, I'm invoking my rematch clause, just as he rolled up Joey Tornado for the 3 count. It might even be the shortest GBYWN title match in history. Didn't think about that one, but that's probably possible as well. Joey Tornado, man. Come on, get a longer reign. What are you doing? Alright, next one. True or false? FX originally wrestled as Fatal X, but changed his name after he heard about G Fatal in Backyard Wrestling. Now think about that. FX currently wrestles for 3BW, a few other feds. Did he wrestle as Fatal X and then change it when he heard about G Fatal? True or false? Think about that. True or false? FX. Does it stand for anything? Does it stand for Fatal X? Well, if you said true, you are absolutely wrong. You're absolutely wrong. FX was never Fatal X. That was never a thing. As far as I know, it's always been FX. It's never stood for anything. It's definitely not been made public that it stood for anything. And G Fatal's just doing G Fatal things. I don't think he influenced anybody's name as far as changing it. Sorry about that, it's false. So let's go to the third one. This one I'm really excited about because it features me. Kind of excited about that. Get to promote myself a little bit. But then again, it might be false. Alright, true or false, ladies and gentlemen. Rad Hazard. That's me. Rad Hazard is a 3-time GBYWN United States Champion. Think about that. The title currently held by the Russ, the GBYWN United States Championship. Am I, Rad Hazard, a 3-time United States title holder? True or false? I have definitely held the title in the past. I don't think that's a secret. But have I held it 3 times? 3 different occasions. Has that happened? Alright, time's up, time's up. If you said true, you are my best friend. If you said true, then you know a lot more about me than I assume most people do. I am a 3-time GBYWN United States Champion. A record. An absolute record. The only one close to that is Chris Urban with 2 title reigns. I am at 3. I won the first one in 2009. When it was the Battleborn Wrestling BBW United States Championship. It was actually in a super show called Westfest in Salt Lake City, Utah. That's where the first title match happened. I won the championship, defended it for I think it was 64 days exactly, lost it to the pen name in Indiana at ICW Midwest Extravaganza. That was a blast. Got hit in the head with a chair, lost the championship, and then regained it 16 months later against the pen name, who still held it at the time, at CCW Burn This City, where once again in Indiana, I captured the championship. Now I ended up losing it at my BXW debut, a street fight against Patrick Wade Wilson at the Paul Kunkel Memorial 2 event. I regained the title in a rematch immediately after, reminiscent of Joe Randa and Joey Tornado. I actually hit Patrick Wade Wilson with a chair, pinned him, regained the championship. 3rd title reign right there. And of course, when I won the Battleborn Wrestling BBW World Championship, I vacated the GBYWN United States title, giving it to Chris Urban, ending that record-breaking 3rd reign undefeated. How about that, huh? Man, I am way overhyping myself. Enough about me in this segment. All right, up next, true or false? The very first EWA Elite Tournament winner was none other than Mike Dell. True or false? EWA, think about it, the Elite Tournament, the very first one, was the winner of the first one, Mike Dell. True or false? True or false? Mike Dell is an EWA wrestler. He's established as a wrestler there, or was at the time at least, of the first EWA Elite. Was he the winner? True or false? True or false? True or false? Are you ready? Alright, yeah, this is false. It's false, folks. I'm sorry, it is false. The winner of the very first EWA Elite Tournament was none other than Tech. Tech won in the finals. No Mike Dell to be found in that finals, unfortunately. Love Mike Dell. I hope he's having a fantastic independent wrestling career. I wish him the best, and I actually do want to go out and watch a couple of his indie matches because I hear he's doing pretty good these days. Love you, Mike Dell. Sorry, though, you were not the very first EWA Elite Tournament winner. And now we go on to our fifth and final True or False TOF of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen, true or false? SWC in Pennsylvania, Sick Ricks Federation, Phoenix's Federation. SWC stands for Suicidal Wrestling Clash. True or false? Think about that one. SWC, home of Backyard Supremacy. Home of mainstays like Hack Edgman, Sick Rick, Phoenix, Folkland, whatever you want to call them. Home base of the Awakening for a certain time. SWC, are they known as Suicidal Wrestling Clash? True or false? Tick tock, tick tock. Time goes by so slowly. And now it's over. Sorry, it is true! It's actually true! Suicidal Wrestling Clash is what SWC means. You didn't hear it very often because Sick Rick told me one time it was a weird name, and you know, I don't know, they were meh on it. So SWC is what it was always called, and I thought it was alright. Suicidal Wrestling Clash, whatever. True, it is indeed true.
Andy, do you like the movie A Bug's Life?
No.
Yeah. I'm out of the Minute Mafia Stepdads.
I do.
Alright, I'm in. Is it your favorite movie?
Kind of.
Is it your favorite?
Yeah.
Alright.
This is one-on-one project, Rad Hazard, and he's coming after you.
I love that movie so much.
Yeah, Rad.
It's not better than A Bug's
The
Life.
ugly, stinky lava!
Hazard, man.
Man, Mafia, and the other boys.
Thank you for riding tower.
You never knew my
Please enjoy your
stable
stay here
name,
at
bro.
Disney Park and Wildwater Kingdom.
Fuck you, Andy.
Fuck you too, St. Vengeance.
Out of the stepdads.
So there you have it, folks. That is the end of episode 7 of the GBYWN podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you tune in next show, hopefully 2 weeks from now, where we'll show some more segments. Maybe I'll do a rant, who knows? Maybe I'll do more true or false. We'll find out. There'll definitely be some more recaps, as well as the continuation of this fantastic interview with Patrick Ray Wilson. So until next time, I am Rad Hazard, signing off here on the GBYWN podcast. Oh, and almost forgot. Here's your sounds of backyard wrestling. Take it away.
You know, I got both of them beat now. Not exactly for the tag team titles, which is all right. I did still just beat them both. Now, I could have had the tag team titles, but unfortunately, Robbie has other things he's got to do. Which is totally understandable. He's got to make his opportunities. But maybe it's time for Sean Amora to make a few opportunities. Perfection! You've been out for 2 weeks after winning that Universal title and only defending it once? No, no, no. When you're a champion, you gotta come each and every week and defend that son of a bitch. So next week, you and me, buddy. I've already beaten you once for the title, and I'm gonna do it again. This is no goddamn Bigfoot! I am no Yeti! I am Sean Moore, the world champion!